Alexander Bear, and I'm on the marketing team here at Relationship Science. I'm joined by my colleagues on our client development team, Rachel White and Mallory Walsh. I'm also joined by my colleague on my marketing team, Chelsea Briggs. The webinar today will last around 15 minutes, and then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the GoToMeeting chat feature located in the little GoToMeeting box, and you can submit them through there, and then we'll answer them at the end. Today's webinar is the first of a 4-part series where we will be discussing how to best leverage the core features of the RelSci platform. Today we will do a deep dive into the Pathfinder tool. Future webinars will focus on Power Search, profiles and 360 alerts, and our newest tool, Relationship Discovery. And these webinars are focused towards the nonprofit sector. So I just wanted to let you know that the examples that we'll be doing throughout this will really focus on the different use cases that the group on this call could use. So as most of you all know, the Pathfinder tool is the bread and butter of the RelSci platform. The tool is extremely flexible and allows you to run paths in a variety of ways so that you can see how people and organizations are connected. You can run paths from yourself to a potential donor, a current donor to a potential donor, or a corporate sponsor to a target organization. Additionally, you can run paths from a current list of donors or to a list of your top prospects. Now we're going to take a deep dive into the platform. So one thing I just wanted to point out before I get into the examples is that I'm going to be showing you this. I'm going to be showing you Pathfinder through the view of someone named Pam Kelly. So think of me as Pam Kelly. I am someone that is on your development team or your research team, and basically I've loaded in relationships into my account that are people that my board members know, that my trustees know, that they're my alums. So these are people that my organization has loaded into the system. So there are 2 ways that you can get to Pathfinder. One way is through clicking Pathfinder here on the right, and the other way is doing it through a profile. So I want to show you really quick just how to do it from someone's profile. So if you're ever looking at somebody and you want to be able to see how you're connected to them, you can do that through there. So I'm just going to pull up Roger Farah and quickly show you that through this Common Relationships module right here, there's a button to see on my path. So anytime you want to be able to see how I'm connected to an individual within the system, I can just do this through its profile right here, and it'll take me straight into Pathfinder. So I'm just going to go to Pathfinder from the right-hand side of my screen, and this is what it looks like when I get here. So you'll see that there are 2 boxes. There's the From box, and then there's the To box. So you can think of this as I'm trying to get from somewhere, and then I'm trying to get to somewhere. So it automatically fills with me. So when this is looking at me, this is looking at through the people that we've tagged within the system. So there's 251 people that Pam Kelly has tagged in the system that she knows or has access to. Those are the people that is pulling in for this me. So it's me and my relationships. And then you're trying to get to somebody. So, as I said, this tool is really flexible. I could be trying to go to an organization. I could be trying to go to a list. Could try going to an individual, and I can put that in here. Additionally, this right here, I can put in other things as well. So for the first example, I'm going to show through me and my relationships how I could get to somebody. So I'm going to pull up Roger again. And Roger was most recently president and COO at Ralph Lauren. So this could be somebody that you're potentially trying to get to donate money to your organization. So I'm going to click Show Path, and now I have the results. And so this is basically showing all the different paths. So we call this right a path. So it's looking at through Pam Kelly, so through me and my relationships that I've tagged in the system, how I'm able to get to the person, so how I'm able to get to Roger Farah on the right-hand side. And so basically when you scroll through this list, you can see all the different paths between me and the individual I'm trying to get to. And the people in the middle are the different ways you have access to that individual. So I'm going to go to the top, and I want to point out a couple things that you'll see when you go to Pathfinder. First thing is you'll see different colors. So you'll see red, you'll see orange, and you'll see yellow. Red signals strong, Orange signals average, and yellow signals weak. And it's the strength that RelSci has put on the relationship. So how likely is it that one person knows another person? So it could be a very strong potential that someone has access to another person, or it could be weak. And we're basically showing through the colors and through an algorithm that we have in RelSci how likely the relationship is. So the first example here is from, so this is basically from me to Jeff Kelly. So we've tagged in the system that we know Jeff. And Jeff, when you hover over Jeff between Roger, you can see the relationship likelihood and the details surrounding why we believe there's a connection between the two. So I can see here, and this is where you can see, so you can see both the color and then you can also see it right here, the strength, so we believe there's a strong likelihood. And then you can see why below that. So this is basically showing the connection that Jeff has to Roger. And you can do this for any of the different paths you see here. I can see here there's a strong connection between Ron and Roger, and it's through the National Retail Federation. So now you're probably wondering how we come up with strong, average, and weak. We do this through a couple different ways, and our algorithm basically picks this up. So we look at things like how long was their overlap. We look at, how, like seniority. So let's say we both worked at JP Morgan and I was an analyst and somebody else was a managing director. The strength of likelihood of us knowing each other is probably not as high as if we were both managing directors for a long period of time. Another thing we might look at is, are you connected through family? Therefore, there's probably a really strong likelihood that you know each other, as you probably assume. So we're looking at different factors like that when trying to figure out the likelihood that people are connected to each other. So a couple things I wanted to point out also is that, so let's say I know Jeff, and Jeff is connected to Roger. Maybe there are other ways that he's able to get to him. You can basically, for any of the paths where you see that little like plus sign, you can pull down and you can see all the other pathways you have to the individual. The top one's pretty much the most direct path that you have, but he might not actually know Roger that well, so you might want to look and see the other options. So a couple things I wanted to point out. We have a couple options. So if you wanted to group your path differently, so right now it automatically defaults to grouping by degree. You can also do it by second degree. It's now looking at it through your second degree connections, and it's basically, when you do it this way, it's actually removing those plus signs that you saw. So you now no longer see that plus 15 below his name. So another thing, I'm going to go back to first degree. Just a second while it loads. Okay. So another thing I can do is sort. So it automatically sorts by strength of path, but I can also do it by number of degrees. So as you can see here, and this is a good example because you can see a couple different other colors that show up here. So you saw before that this is first degree. Sometimes there's a second degree connection to be able to get to the person you're trying to get in front of. So this is basically just showing here are all first degree connections that I have that are able to get me to the point to get to. So I showed you this one, but then here's a couple others. So this one is an example of an average relationship likelihood, and you're seeing here that it's through Toys R Us. They're both directors, but Toys R Us is a really large organization, and their overlap wasn't that long, so the likelihood of them knowing each other is maybe not as strong as other options. And then here, through Richard Jaffe, there is a weak likelihood that he's connected to Roger Farah. And so, these are just conversations that you want to have with the people that you're connected to where, this is the likelihood we're placing on the system, but sometimes you never know, maybe they were good friends and we're just not able to pick up on that through our algorithm. And then one other thing I wanted to show you, and again, these are a little bit more advanced, so if you ever have questions about how to, best use these different sorting and filtering options, you can definitely talk to your account team, but this is another option you can do, is filter out certain types of paths, or if you only want to look at a specific path. So let's say you're only wanting to look at, board paths within Pathfinder, you can do that through here. Or let's say if you don't want to see a specific organization, so let's say I don't want to see progressive corporation show up in my path, I can apply that filter here, and I've now basically taken out anybody that is connected through progressive. So one other thing I wanted to show you is this Colleagues Paths tab. So some of you may have this, some of you may not have this, and it depends on how your account was initially set up with your account team. But sometimes what we'll do when we're working with a nonprofit is their board members will each have their own account, and they will load in the people that they know. And that will then allow you to be able to leverage their relationships from your account. And so if you've set that up, or you might have it for an executive director on your team, you might have had them go in and tell RelSci they know these people. And so they basically have an account that looks like this. It has their relationship. Through this, you're creating a relationship web, and you're able to then go in and leverage their relationship straight from the platform. So if you do that, then you're quickly able to see through the Colleagues tab, these people on the left-hand side are people that also have accounts that are tied to mine, but they're my colleagues, or my board members, or my executive director, or other people that are on my team. And you're basically saying through, this is my colleague Mike. Mike said that he knows Mark, and Mark's connected to Roger Farah. So this is just another way that maybe if I don't find a path that I want to be able to use through my path, I can then go look at my colleagues. So I'm going to show another example. I'm going to show Andrew Tisch to Melody Hobson. And basically what I'm doing here is, let's say Andrew's on my board, and I want to be able to see how one of my board members is connected to a potential donor. And basically what this is doing here is this is taking the public information that we have within Andrew Tisch's profile in RelSci, taking that information and then seeing how those relationships of his are connected to the relationships with Melody, are connected to Melody. So now what you're looking at here is this is Andrew Tisch, so this is my board member on the left-hand side, and then here's Melody, who I'm trying to get in front of. So now I'm able to see through Andrew, he's connected to Paul through Lowe's. They're both on the board there. And there's a strong likelihood that they're connected. They're also members on Council on Foreign Relations. They also both went to Harvard Business School. You can see that here on the bottom. And then Paul, there's a strong likelihood that he's connected to Melody because they're both on the board J. Lauder. So this could be a great path for me to be able to pursue. I could go to my board Andrew and see if he can make me an introduction to Paul because I'm trying to get in front of Melody. And if you go down the list, you can see all the potential ways that Andrew has access to Melody. So another example I'm going to show you is, let's say you're trying to get in front of a corporate sponsor. So I'm going to look at this from me and my relationships to Bank of America. Seen them said recently that Bank of America made a pretty large donation to them, so this could be somebody you're trying to get in front of. And basically what this is doing here is showing through me and my relationships how I'm able to get to decision makers at Bank of America. So we're looking at Bank of America from the profile I have in RelSci, all the people that are associated with Bank of America. So this could be board members, it's past employee organization. And basically what this looks like here is it's looking at, from me and my relationships, how I'm able to get it to these are individuals basically that are connected to Bank of America in some shape or form. So it could be somebody that was a prior employee to Bank of America, could be somebody that is currently employed there, could be a board of Bank of America. And so basically this little hook up here is showing the person's access have to the organization. And so see here, this person was previously employed at Bank of America, so the connection here is out. And so one thing that I can point out here too is that you can actually filter. So let's say I only wanted to see people that are on the board currently at Bank of America, because those are the people I'm really trying in front of. You can apply a filter there, and you'll basically now only see people that are currently on the board at Bank of America. And now I'm able to see through somebody that I said I know, Summer, that she's connected to Charles through CBS Berlin and Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Inc. And they also went to Boston University together. And again here, I can look at this through my colleagues' path and see if somebody within my relationship web has better access than I do to somebody at Bank of America. So one thing that I wanted to point out here is our reporting option. So if you ever run a path and you want to be able to save it, you want to be able to bring it to a board member you're meeting with. So let's say, we go back to that example where I was looking at my board member, Andrew Tisch, and to see how he's connected to a potential prospect of mine. You could save that report by just clicking on report. You can save it as a PDF or a CSV file. You can pull up the path. You can even choose specific paths. So if I only went to print off certain paths on here, I could go through and select those. But this is just a great thing to know. So, if you get a results from Pathfinder that you really want to be able to save and send to somebody or print off and bring to a meeting or just keep on your computer for, future reference, you can do that through the reporting. So the last example that I wanted to go through is through leveraging our list. So I'm sure many of you have used lists. If you haven't, I definitely encourage you to take advantage of them. Basically what that is, they live right over here on this right-hand panel, and this basically allows you to group a selection of people together. You can create this list through RelSci. So our next webinar is going to be on Power Search, and through Power Search you can basically use filters that we have in there, and I can go to this real quick so you can see it. But you have all these different filters you can use. So if I wanted to create a list of potential donors of mine who have given to a specific cause and live in a certain area, I can do that through Power Search and save that as a list, and that list will live right here, and I can basically use that within Pathfinder. You can also upload lists. So if you have, let's say, a list within your CRM of prospects, if you have a list within your CRM of current donors of yours that you'd like to leverage for warm introductions, if you have a list of alums that you want to leverage or a list of alums that you're trying to get in front of, those can all be created as lists. And basically all you do is you create a CSV file of those people and you can also do it of organizations, and you basically will just upload them into the system, and our account team can help with that. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you can use this. You can call our client support team, you can email them, you can chat them right on the spot, or you can contact your account team and they can help you. So I'm going to show you just how you can do it. So if you do have lists already created, this is how you do it, or this might spark some ideas for new lists that you want to do. So let's say I want to be able to leverage my current donors. So let's say I loaded a list of my top donors from 2013. And I want to be able to see how my top donors from 2013 are able to get me in front of my top prospects. I'm going to run this search in Pathfinder. And now what this is basically doing is you're seeing on the left-hand side, these are my top donors from 2013, and then here are my top prospects. And now I'm basically able to see through my previous donors how they're able to get me in front of my prospects. So we can see this first example. These people there's a strong likelihood they're connected through Cerberus Capital Management. I might have just butchered that. And then you can see through Michael, one of my donors, he's connected to Fred Wilson through NYC Seed LLC. So again, you can see all the different ways that my current donors are connected to my potential donors. You could have a list of people that are CEOs at Fortune 500 companies. There are lots of different ways that you can utilize lists, and definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. So that's about it for going through examples. I'd now like to pass this over to Chelsea, who's going to run through some questions that we received during this webinar. And if you have any questions lingering, definitely feel free to still enter them into the chat feature.
Great. Okay, so the first question we have today is the data shown in this training actual data?
Thanks for the question. In terms of the data that we're showing during the webinar, all of the sort of connection details that Alexandra was running through between individuals is actual live data from the system. The relationships that she mentioned that are tagged under Pam Kelly's account, that's something that will change based on who the user is. So if you're a user in your account, your relationships will look different. But certainly as you see the different connection details here and the different names that appear within the system, this is all information that's collected and curated by our research team.
Great. Okay, the next question we have is how current is the data of RelSci and how regularly is it updated?
The data within RelSci is updated on a constant basis. We have quite a few different processes, some of which are automated, a lot of which are then kind of seen by our 400+ person research team that goes into maintaining, updating, and enhancing the information that we have in the system. So a lot of the information comes through sort of from some of the vendors that we partner with. In addition to that, we have certain robots that sit on websites to pick up changes to pages where executives are listed or trustees are listed. And then on top of that, again, we have about 400 people that are keeping tabs on press releases, news articles, filings, and other sources to ensure that our information is updated as quickly as possible.
Great. Okay, the next question that we have is what is the ranking structure for the primary strong contacts? And what is the difference between those listed at the top of the screen and those listed further down the page?
So I think what this question is asking is essentially about sort of the way that the paths appear within the Pathfinder tool. I'm going to go back to the example that we were looking at before. So essentially when you're looking at sort of the default after you hit show paths, it'll automatically rank them according to the overall path strength. So in this case, the first path that we see through Jeffrey Kelly to Roger Farah is our overall strongest connection to that individual. You'll notice that some of these 2-degree paths appear before you see another one of those 1-degree paths. And that's because overall this path is stronger than the connection through Michael, even though it requires that 2nd-degree connection. As Alexandra sort of briefly showed previously, if you're really just interested in the most direct paths rather than sort of the strongest overall paths according to our algorithm, resorting by number of degrees pushes those direct paths to the top regardless of how strong they are, and then you'll start to get to those 2-degree paths, again, which are sorted by the strength that's determined by our algorithm.
Great. The next question is, what should I do if I have a question about the strength or details behind a connection in Pathfinder?
Great. Anytime you have a question about something that you see within RelSci, whether it's specifically about the connection details or the way that we're calculating the relationship likelihood, we encourage you to reach out either directly to your account team. Otherwise, within the system, it's really easy to communicate with our support team. If you click on this RelSci Services button, it will open up a field where you can input questions, you can request information, and certainly you can ask for more details behind the algorithm. So if you type your question into this field, it will go to our support team and someone will reach out to you with a response. The other way that you can contact them very quickly is by hitting this contact button here, and you'll notice that you have the ability to live chat with someone. Otherwise, again, you can shoot them an email or call them directly, and they're available 7 days a week as the business hours listed below, and they're all based here actually in New York City, so we work very closely with them within client development, and they're a great resource that you can take advantage of.
Okay, the next question is there a limit to the number of individuals or lists that we can upload? Does this vary by subscription?
There's no limit to the number of lists that you upload into the system. Likewise, you can certainly tag as many relationships as possible. The only limitation that you'll But otherwise, you can create a number of different lists to be leveraged within the Pathfinder tool, as well as within some of the other aspects of the platform. Follow up with you afterwards, and a member from our client development team who you work with will follow up with you. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that attended today. I hope we provided some new and useful tips for how to best leverage Pathfinder, and hope they're able to join us at our next webinar focusing on Power Search, which will be on July 17th. Again, Pathfinder can be really helpful for you when you're trying to understand how you and your organization are connected to people that you're trying to get in front of and how to best leverage those people. So we hope that you'll try it out, and we'll be sending out a follow-up survey following this that we'd love to hear any feedback that you have, as well as ideas for future webinars that we can do to help you best leverage the platform. Hope everyone has